there are not too many people who really hate this map. I think the overall this will be like the more likable map from the map wall. And
All right, yeah.
we are in the game.
All right, so as a caster in training, man, I think one of the things that we need to teach you how to do is how to introduce players. So I think we should go ahead and start by introducing our blue player down here.
All right, in the bottom right of Ascension of Ire, the former KT champion. This is Zest.
Dun, 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 dun. I'll be your backup. All right.
Nice.
And on the other side of the map, in the red, also as a Protoss player, Classic. Sick. All right, so we have a PvP on Ascension to Ire. PvP, I always want to say, is one of the, I guess, more diverse mirror matchups. Certainly not as sort of rigid as ZVZ is. So why don't you explain to viewers, maybe this is their first game of StarCraft watching, what should we be looking for?
Wow, if this is their first game watching StarCraft, this is going to be difficult for them. Yeah, so PvP right now is about taking your expansion safely, because Protoss has a lot of aggression coming up. So that's why every game you will see a double gate opening. You will see occasionally a Nexus first, but this is more of a knowing your opponent, how he plays tactic. So we can see Zest and Classic both starting up with 2 gateways. The 2 gateways provide you with good unit production with either double Stalker or double Adept, depending on what you want to do. Usually the guys who goes for the double Stalker means he wants to play it safe and expand behind it, but also could be very aggressive, while the Adepts give you a lot of scouting potential. They can scout if the opponent is making any Nexus, and if the other opponent wants to go out on the map, you can always sneak in with the Adepts, get the probes or something like that. So after the expansions are set, there is going to be the real tech choice, because if it's not an all-in, the real tech will be shown after the expansions are set.
All right, so how do you expand and when are kind of the questions we're looking to be answered. Been seeing a couple of great PvPs. Just got a chance to watch Classic play PvP yesterday versus Deer, I want to say. And, Deer is a little bit up and coming. Classic, had his sort of Sky Toss strat that he did so well with. Now it's not really quite as strong anymore, so I didn't know what to expect, and Classic just laid the smack down. So Classic just always kind of been a PvP god, and Zest, the guy that's kind of falling on hard times. He's gone to the Protoss house where they hand out build orders. He's like, can I have a build order, please? They give him one, and he goes and tries to execute it. It just doesn't work out quite as well. But he did have his first win ever in SSL Challenge last week, so things may be turning around. I'm just trying to make it seem a little bit more balanced.
Yeah, we are already seeing something different than a standard in PvP. It's a very early proxy pylon by Zest, but it's going to be immediately scouted by Classic. I believe Zest wanted to do either a DT rush with the proxy pylon, or just have a scouting point of the third base, but also could go for Blink, and he goes for Blink after the proxy pylon has been scouted. Note that Zest has his expansion up much quicker, because he didn't make the units out of the gateways immediately. So he played a little bit, let's say, greedy, and put down his expansion. While Classic played the 2 Stalkers first to scout around. He found the pylon, but his Nexus is much more delayed, as well as his tech. However, Classic already has the robotics facility on the way. He'll probably start up with an observer or something like that to scout around, while Zest invested into the Twilight Council really quickly to get the Blink upgrade going.
Yep, I think the other big thing to note is that maybe that was kind of a flexible choice, like you said, maybe wanting to go for Dark Templars. All of a sudden you get your proxy pylon scouted, and you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? Blink, kind of a natural follow-up there, and then Robo on the way. His Robo's going to be way slower than Classic's, though, but it's not like he'll be behind in Immortal production maybe too much, because there's an observer first from Classic. And I guess what I see most commonly is a big mid-game sort of Immortal Archon composition that seems to be this big, meaty PvP army. Is that what we should be expecting, or is Sky Toss, maybe still popular? I have not seen that too much.
Sky Toss is not that popular anymore. After the buffs to the Zealot charge, as well as the Void Ray nerf of speed, the Sky Toss has kind of fallen off. The timings are much stronger to hit with the charge lots against the Sky Toss, so it's not really that common anymore. It's possible to do on maps like Proxima, but I haven't faced it in a long time, and I'm glad because it's been a very tough time. And the Classic wanted to scout around with the Oracle, and Zest denied the scouting in the middle, so that means there's only one hallucination, which is the Phoenix that scouted pretty much everything that Zest is doing. There's 4 gateways, the third expansion going up, while Classic goes for a forge, but his third is very much so delayed. He's going more for the upgrades, but after scouting the third off Zest, he's going to take the third on his own. And now Zest is scouting around what Classic is doing. He's going to see a forge that is not upgrading just yet, so he might think that Classic wants to go for an attack, but he sees that the gateways are much later than his own, and he did not see that the third base has been gone down, so he might want to send another hallucination very soon just to confirm that he's not going to be under attack very soon. Oh, double forge though.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Well, I mean, that's one way to deal with it. If you see that your opponent, maybe not looking to push out again, then double forge it is. So, also kind of interesting. We're going to be seeing the Templar archives come up a little bit earlier for Zest. So, looking to get those big archons out there. What is sort of the logic behind this? At least what it looks to be this charge slot Archon Immortal comp. Is that just like the go-to?
Pretty much. Like we've been seeing a lot of disruptor plays, and they are very nice. But there's just a lot of timings that can be hit before there's the critical amount of immortals. Disruptors. Because if it's like only 1 or 2. It's very easy to dodge it, and even if only one disruptor shot hits the immortal, because pretty much other units are microable to dodge, then it doesn't kill the immortals yet, and then you don't really have any immortals on your own because you've been investing into the disruptors, so you don't really have any damage to deal with that. So that's why we're kind of leaning towards the charged Archon. But I'm very interested in the double fort. That's a very big investment into the late game. I think that's what Zest wants to play. I haven't seen double force play since very long time actually. And Classic is moving out a little bit, posturing. He doesn't have a War Prism out, so I believe he just wants to poke around, scare Zest a little bit, maybe use some of the barrier for the immortals, and then go back to his macro, because he's already setting up the gases at the third base, and Zest is already taking a fourth, so that's a very macro-oriented game that we have so far.
Yeah, sometimes when I see players play this style, it seems like the I really hope they don't attack me right now kind of strategy, where you just go for massive amounts of upgrades and try to get ahead that way. But it certainly seems to be working here for Zest, and wisely enough, Classic is going to be heading back home to defend his third. And I think at this point, Zest probably wants to also check and see if there's a fourth base coming up, and indeed, right on time, there it is.
It's going to be very tough for Classic to defend the attack of Zest. There's a very nice tactic that Zest is using. He has 2 immortals in the War Prism, so while he's going to attack at the front, he's going to put these immortals in the main, probably snipe some of the pylons that are powering the gateways. But good for Classic, the gateways are pretty much all of them are in the natural. So Zest is going into the main right now with the War Prism. 2 immortals, probably we're going to see a Warpen of Zealots if he wants to do so, and he does. He's going to attack the 4th at the same time while he's securing a 4th on his own. He already transferred the probes over there, and the pylon goes down, unpowers the Warpen, killing additional gateways, and the 4th base is probably going to get cancelled, but he's scared away. There's no reinforcement point for Zest just yet, but the damage in the main is very big. Zest already ahead in supply. He needs to run away a little bit from the Stalkers, but Classic doesn't have too much beef in this army, and a big Warpen of Zealots. And then if Classic would have chased Zest a little bit, he would have been in so much trouble.
Well, Classic just lost almost everything in the main. He lost the pylon powering almost the entire tech line that he had built. The Templar Archives unpowered. Also maybe about to lose his +2. It is an unpowered forge, and another big Warpen coming in. Zest really trying to hammer it home. Lots of charge lots coming in. The Blink will take out the Warp Prism, but these Immortals are just going to town. So much damage being done here. Zest getting a lot, and the cancel on the 4th base as well. Just too much damage done. Zest takes out Classic in game number 1.
That was very cleanly executed by Zest, and Classic overcommitted to the Stalkers. He made like around 12, and while they are good in controlling the map, they are also very expensive. Zest played more safe, let's say. He wasn't trying to push you around the map. He invested into the double forge, faster third base, faster natural, more into the infrastructure rather than to the units to walk around the map. And while Classic was in the middle of the map, Zest already had his tech, his double forge at additional gateways. He had just better army composition to fight, and it was just a very nicely executed attack by Zest, because Classic wouldn't just send the Stalkers to defend in the main against the Immortal and Zealots. He can't send the Immortals because then he loses the main fight. So it was just a lose-lose situation for Classic, because Zest had just so much momentum after the earlier expansions, much more economy, and pretty good by him.
All right, well, I'm going to get ready to go here for game number 2. Zest taking game 1, and I just kind of want to ask you what it seemed like Classic didn't do or should have done better, because it looks like Zest was able to play a pretty greedy style and get away with it.
I think if Classic would have invested into a War Prism a little bit faster, he had a slight timing window where Zest was taking to the double forge, the Tempo Archives and stuff, while he had 3 models, around 12 Stalkers and 2 Sentries walking around the map. And I think with the micro potential, with the War Prism, Blink, and the Force Fields, he would have at least picked off maybe an Immortal or 2, forced Zest to stop the probing for a little while. I think just Classic went for the wrong composition to the late game, while not doing anything with the composition that he invested into already.
Okay, well, we're about to get into game number 2 of our best of 3 opening round series here in the Ballistix Brawl. So thanks to everybody else for watching. Why don't you go ahead and introduce our player again, Mana?
Yes, but this time, this is the Rod Protoss, currently down 0-1 after a tough loss against his opponent. This is former SKT Classic.
Dun, dun, dun. There he is. His opponent across the map as our blue Protoss player is also XKT player Zest. Well, not also, but XKT player
KT,
Zest.
SKT.
Zest KT, okay. I'm not going to take sides on that one. That's like almost as dangerous an argument as politics. So thankfully now we can just appreciate good players being good and don't have any of those. That's me trying to spin that situation.
I believe they are both teamless, right? Zest and Classic.
Yep.
I don't think they have any kind of individual sponsorship.
It baffles me to see some of our players get picked up by wonderful foreign organizations or even Korean organizations. And then you have guys like Sue and Dark and Innovation, and none of these guys have sponsors. And I just have to do that thinking emoji face. Which at some point, somebody is going to have to throw these guys some cash or something if they want to, win a bunch of GSLs or get a bunch of second places in GSL. That's that kind of reliable branding when you can guarantee a sponsor you'll always get to the grand finals.
Yeah, I guess Sue wants a lot of money. He's like, yeah, I guarantee you at least second place, so give me a lot of money. But yeah, we're going to start with the double gateways once again, but this time Classic goes for a wall in and a second pylon on the low ground. I wonder what his plan is. So what this wall is for is that the 2 adepts are very common in the PvP, and while the adepts want to try to shade into your main, you block the wall with a pylon, so the adepts get no scouting or no potential threat to your mineral line. But the bad thing about it is that your pylon is in the ramp and the second pylon is in the natural. That means if your opponent goes for an Oracle, for example, you will not have your infrastructure to defend against this with a pylon overcharge. So that forces you to have Stalkers in the mineral line. But Classic doesn't look like he will want to go for any kind of macro game. He's already proxying pylon and a Stargate on the other side of the map while the wall-in is there. So if Zest went for the adepts, and he does, he will just bump on the wall and see nothing.
Yeah, there are these 2 Stalkers from Classic trying to run out on the map and catch the Adepts as they go in, but as ships passing in the night, they will pass right over or by each other, and that means that these Adepts are going to get into a base which is pretty undefended. Unless I'm mistaken, he didn't just magically fit a mothership core in there, so this could actually be pretty bad. Oh,
this is a GG material right there, actually. There's 1 probe, 2 probes. He's going to get at least 7 probes. And he could even go out there with the shade, but he decides to stay in there. 7 probes already down and counting 8. The Stargate is making an Oracle on the other side of the map, but if I am in this situation as Classic, I am actually very, very sad, because he made this wall solely for the purpose of defending these adepts, but he didn't have the probe ready to block with the pylon, and it was just very nice by Zest to go around the adepts, not go for the standard path, but just walk a little bit longer, but make sure that he's not been spotted. And now Classic is left with 4 Stalkers, Proxy Gate and an Oracle, and Zest right now he's sitting only on 2 Stalkers and 1 Sentry, but he's in a very good position to defend any kind of aggression that Classic is going to throw at him. Great force field blocking 2 Stalkers, 1 Stalker already down, 1 completely derping around the rocks, but the Oracle is going into the middle line. But Zest already has the Photon Overcharge ready, and this is the infrastructure that we were talking about that is needed. And the Oracle even goes down. This is terrible for Classic, and I see no chance for him to make this attack work.
Yeah, you can see he threw down the gateway at the proxy pylon. I think he was just thinking about going for an all-in after that because he knew that he was just really far behind in workers. Tried to get in there with the Oracle, but I mean at this point Zest was just way too well prepared for it. Classic's still going to try to go for it, but it kind of feels a little hopeless at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Classic had 2 choices to make after the adepts get into the main. Commit fully to an all-in or try to play a macro game from being super behind. And in the previous game, they played a macro game while they were on even footing, and that went terribly wrong. So Classic chooses to go for an all-in, and even though he's being aggressive, he has only 6 Stalkers and a Sentry, while this already has an Immortal, 3 Stalkers into the main, 4 Stalkers into the natural, 3 Sentries, a couple of Photon Overcharges going to be ready. There's no way that Classic is going to make it work, but you know, with 1 Sentry, maybe there's some magic that Classic will show, but even with 1 Immortal there, I don't see it working.
Well, he's got 9 Stalkers, 1 Sentry, and a Dream mana. We'll see if that dream turns into a nightmare. No, it won't.
No. We tried to make it as hype as possible, but no.
Doing good jobs as casters, trying to make it seem like it's not as totally over as it was. But Zest 2-0 Classic, I'm really glad we got a chance to check that out, because otherwise, if I just look at that on paper, especially after watching Classic play last night, that seems like a really good match for him. But Zest will take him out and advance on to the next round of the Ballistix Brawl.
Yeah. Looks like Zest is in a good shape right now. It's we have to keep in mind that this is early in the morning in Korea. This is probably one of the first games that they are playing right now, so it's not like Classic was in the best shape of his life and that's how he looks like. Maybe he maybe had a rough night or something like that. This is not a result in a tournament that we want to go back to, but nonetheless, it was a very strong showing by Zest. Little to no mistakes actually from his side, so I'm very happy to see him in this form right now. It's 2-0 against the Classic, and he will play against Innovation in the round of 8. And this is a match we actually want to see, I think.
Absolutely. Also want to keep in mind the other matchups. So in case you guys are looking at the bracket, currently the bracket is made out to be best of 1. It's not a best of 1. It's a best of 3 tournament until the semifinals. And I do want to correct myself there. I believe earlier I said it was just the finals. But no, semifinals and finals are both best of 5s. So lots and lots of games as we get towards the end of the tournament. And we will be broadcasting every match from the semifinals and the finals. So lots and lots of games to come. So just to talk about the bracket, of course, this may not be totally accurate. You guys can see the bracket too if you are so interested. But we do have a couple of really good series coming up. Innovation versus Zest is going to be super sick. Scarlet awaits the winner of Losira versus Nice. Not a player that I'm super familiar with.
This is a K1-ish Protoss.
Okay, awesome. Like I said, not as familiar with that, but we also have on the other side like Byun versus Cure, and our unnamed Korean player, who I'm also, it's Rogue. He is named. I just am not familiar with that.
And the Mangu and Bubble.
Mangu and Bubble. We see that. So that's Hero and Dark.
Holy, wow, what a match.
I know.
Oh my god. I'm shaking around.
Yeah, and the winner of Hero versus Dark plays Rogue. I'm like, oh my god, there's like so many good games. Basically, this is GSL in a day. Can you imagine if they played every game in GSL in one day? It'd be the best day ever, but also it would kill Tasteless Narcosis.
Yes. So.
All right. Well, that means that we're going to head into a quick break for just a minute to remind you more about our sponsors, Ballistix. We'll come back with our next series, so don't go anywhere.